Okay, so today we're going to be talking about some of the biggest threats in cloud storage today. As storage has migrated out of data centers and ramped up with the volume of data generated by AI and other technologies, the biggest problem that we see time and time again are resources being public by accident. So why are these exposures and these very dangerous exposures happening so easily? They're not complex technical attacks, and they're very simple, and they're happening by accident. So we can see them all across different cloud storage types, right? Amazon S3 is the most high-profile one. You see that in the news all the time. EBS, RDS, Amazon Machine Images, DocumentDB are other things in AWS that can be public and are often exposed. Of course, Azure, GCP have the same problems, and even personal or corporate drives like Google Drive and OneDrive have the same problem. Somebody takes a resource, they make it public, thinking it's benign, but it ends up being very detrimental to the organization in the form of a data leak. So let's dig into some of the root causes, right? Why do good teams make these mistakes? We see a couple. So number one being security through obscurity, right? People think that choosing an obscure bucket name, a long alphanumeric code, even in most cases, keeps it safe from being accessed. Security by obscurity is not an effective way to keep your data secured. Another one, right? Forgotten and unlocked resources. So you need to share something with a partner, a client, a boss. You open access to it and you forget to shut it down once you're done. Number three, right? The frustration workaround. We see this exceptionally often. You're under pressure with a deadline. You're working under tight timelines. You can't get the IAM permissions quite right. And you just open up access intending to fix it later. And then, of course, you never come back. Let's talk about the one that everybody knows. That's Amazon S3, right? So you see cases all the time, some significant ones being Accenture, Starbucks, Reindeer Marketing, tons of data being leaked every month through misconfigured and publicly accessible Amazon S3 buckets. So they've accidentally left it open, not understanding the ramifications or believing it was a problem, right? And often we find as well, one team doesn't really communicate with another, which can also lead to exposing this data. But it gets worse, right? Once a bucket is discovered, attackers can enumerate object names, they can launch further attacks. So for example, using the S3 bucket name or ARN, attackers can brute force an account ID. And this leads to lateral movement within the account, privilege escalation, and kicking off long-term multi-stage attacks that can be far greater in scope than just a single misconfigured S3 bucket. So let's talk about EBS snapshots, right? They're the keys to the kingdom. And so generally, whatever's on that volume is going to be on the snapshot. And if you make that public, you create a massive problem. In one red team test, a tester found a public EBS snapshot and discovered a treasure trove of exposed data across other snapshots, including things like encryption keys, password and auth tokens, API keys, source code, PII datasets. So if you have EBS snapshots, you need to quickly review them. You need to understand why they exist and ensure that they do not contain any sensitive data. Let's talk about RDS, right? So RDS databases are designed to hold sensitive data. They're extremely robust at this, right? But they generally don't have the same defensive capabilities as web or app servers that are designed to withstand brute forcing or DDoS attacks on the public internet. And so if attackers find a public database, they'll bang on the door very loudly to cause disruptions. RDS snapshots being public is just as bad. So even if you've locked your database down, if the snapshot is public, anything held inside, like brute forcible password hashes, are exposed. And so shared snapshots, again, must be very deliberately reviewed. Amazon Machine Images, or AMIs, right? If you're creating AMIs as templates to spin up instances, right? And many AMIs are meant to be public. For example, if you're packaging up your software for sale, CSS does this on our side. You have to make sure that nothing sensitive is left on them. And so before you make an AMI public, you need to make sure that you have it locked down. You've removed API keys, SSH keys, any hard-coded passwords, source code, test data dumps, whatever that might be. Again, you need to be able to understand that you have these public AMIs, but more importantly, you need a system to actually review them. DocumentDB, right? Another huge problem in AWS. It's a MongoDB compatible database, and it shares similar risks. So its snapshots can be shared publicly, and what's inside them is very rarely safe to share. Think user records, session data, PII, other sensitive data, metadata. And so, again, and I'll say this again, you need to be able to review these at scale. So, of course, this is not just an AWS problem. This is a problem with every major cloud environment, right? In Azure, you have to take the same measures that you do with S3 around blob storage. In Google Cloud, you need to monitor public bucket ACLs and IAM policies. And even on the individual level, using OneDrive and Google Drive, employees using anyone with a link sharing on either of those platforms are equivalently making those documents public. So how do you actually manage this, right? We've talked about the problem. Let's talk about the solution and how you can prevent these attacks and these misconfigurations. So an automated review is critical. It's essential. So when any public resource goes online, it should trigger an automatic review and a full content assessment, right? So even benign seeming shares might contain unintended sensitive data, and that's where a lot of these leaks happen. You need the ability to whitelist what is intentionally exposed and flag what is not. And of course, you can't just check once. A public bucket might be safe today, but for 6 months from now, someone might have inadvertently copied sensitive data into it. And so you must continuously watch for that sensitive data. And of course, is coverage. So managing S3 alone, it's a good amount of the problem, maybe 80, 90%, but you need that same discipline over EBS, RDS, AMIs, across all of the major cloud platforms and wherever else your data is stored. So this is where our tool Data Defender comes in. It provides that continuous public exposure monitoring across all different sources. It makes the heavy listing and it takes the heavy listing and it makes it a simple point-and-click process. It's designed for the mid-market organizations out there, meaning that you don't need a giant budget or an extensive security operations center or SOC. And so we encourage you to go out, give Data Defender a try, and see how it works for you. Thank you.